Welcome to The Critique. Today we are digging into a massive script that tries to cover, over 30 different pizza styles from all over the world?
It's a huge undertaking.
It is, from Naples to Korea. But look, the research is amazing, but the way it's put together is giving me serious whiplash. So let's just get straight into it.
Whiplash is exactly the right word. I sat down with this really excited, and within just a couple of pages, I felt like I was being teleported.
Randomly.
Completely. One minute I'm in Colorado, the next I'm in Turkey, then suddenly India, and then before I can even process it, I'm back in Detroit.
It's so disorienting, and that, right there, is the first major thing we need to talk about, the structure and the flow.
Or the lack of it.
Exactly. Right now, this script is organized like a grocery list. There's no narrative thread connecting these 30 styles.
It's just a list of things that are, sort of round dough with toppings.
And that's a huge missed opportunity. You're losing the story of evolution. By jumping from, say, Detroit to paneer tikka, you just sever that connection.
You don't see how one thing led to another.
You don't. This shouldn't be a list. It should be a genealogy. I think we need to reorganize this whole thing into families or lineages.
So grouping them by their DNA, not just their location on a map.
Exactly. Think about it. You can't really understand New York-style pizza if you don't first understand Neapolitan.
Of course.
And you can't get Detroit-style without understanding Sicilian. So the draft needs to start at the source. It needs a section, let's call it the Italian progenitor.
Okay, so that will be Neapolitan, Roman, and Sicilian. The Holy Trinity?
Right. You start with Neapolitan. The script actually does a good job here. It mentions the strict EU-protected status, the rules for the flour. That's your control group.
That sets the standard.
It sets the standard for everything that follows. Then you can bring in Roman and Sicilian to show how even within Italy, the style was already starting to diverge.
Okay, so we establish the roots. Then what? Where do we go from there? Do we just jump to the big American ones?
You follow the people. You move to a section like the immigrant evolution.
Ah, I see.
Instead of hopping over to Turkey, you follow the boat to Ellis Island. You go straight to New York style. The script mentions Lombardi's in 1905. That's the direct descendant of Neapolitan pizza, but adapted.
For coal ovens and for selling by the slice.
Yes, and suddenly that transition is seamless.
And I guess New Haven style fits right in there too.
Perfectly. It's the coal-fired cousin from the 1920s. And Philadelphia tomato pie. The source material says it evolved from Italian sfincione.
Right.
If you put that next to a pizza cone, it makes absolutely no sense. But if you put it right after Sicilian, the listener immediately goes, oh, okay, I see the family resemblance.
It really does turn it from a menu into more of a history lesson.
It does, but then what about the heavy hitters? The pan pizza. They feel like a totally different beast.
They do. Do they get their own little chapter?
They absolutely have to. Call it the deep divergent. This is where you group the styles that turn pizza from, a light snack into a full-on casserole.
Yeah.
You start with Chicago deep dish, Pizzeria Uno, the 1940s, but then you immediately connect it to Detroit style.
I see the logic. The text has that great detail about Detroit using the blue steel automotive pans.
Such a cool detail.
But it's buried pages away from the Chicago section. If you put them together, you can compare the wall of crust in Chicago to that Frico cheese edge in Detroit.
And you have to include the American evolution of Sicilian in there too. The draft notes that it's thicker and heavier in the U.S. It belongs in that deep divergence family.
So it paints this picture of mid-century America just wanting these hearty, heavy meals.
Exactly. Industrial strength pizza. Now, I do want to push back on one group. The script has these other flatbread, like Turkish lahmacun or Catalan coke.
Right, and the French tart flambé.
Yeah. Are we really comfortable just calling those pizza? I feel like lumping them in might confuse people.
That's a great point. They are the cousins. If you just sprinkle them between Chicago and New York, they feel totally out of place.
But if you group them together as, say, ancestral cousins or parallel evolutions, you solve that problem.
You acknowledge the shared DNA, dough, toppings, heat, but you're also saying they evolved on a separate track.
It actually strengthens the definition of pizza by showing what sits just on the outside of that Lahmacun has no cheese. Coca is roasted veggie.
By grouping them, you're basically saying, here is how the rest of the Mediterranean does flatbread.
Precisely. So, okay, fix the structure, but now let's talk about the content, because honestly, half the time I feel like I'm just reading a nutritional label.
You mean the significance and relevance? The why of it all?
I do. The script is fantastic at telling me what is on the pizza. It lists ingredients with, military precision, but it almost never tells me why those ingredients are there.
It just says local taste or immigrants.
Which is just lazy. We need to dig into the economic, the environmental. Why?
I really felt that gap with the Regina style, the prairie pizza. I've read that section a few times now. It's 2 to 3 inches tall, dense, biscuit-like crust. It just sounds intense.
Why on earth would anyone make that?
Exactly.
The answer is literally right there in the text, but the script just glosses over it. It mentions cold prairie winters.
Ah.
You have to grab that detail and make it the whole point. This isn't just a quirky culinary choice. It's survival food.
So you frame it as a caloric necessity.
Of course. You're in Saskatchewan, it's 40 below. A thin Neapolitan pizza isn't going to do anything for you. You need dense carbs to keep from freezing. That crust exists because the climate demanded.
Suddenly, that 3-inch crust isn't just thick, it's a shield against the winter. That's so much more compelling.
It is. It reminds me of the pizza Fritta section. The text says it came about in World War II because ovens were destroyed.
Yeah, but it's treated like a fun fact. Oh, they fried it because the ovens broke.
No, this is a story about war. The ovens were bombed out, wood was scarce, but people had oil and they had dough. Pizza Fritta is a symbol of resilience.
It's the pizza that refused to die.
Exactly. That adds this emotional weight that's completely missing. But, okay, what about the styles that don't have a tragic backstory, like, Altoona style?
Oh, the Altoona style. It's the weirdest one in here.
It really is. Yellow American cheese and green bell peppers on a Sicilian dough? It sounds like a mistake.
It sounds like a crime. But the script just lists the ingredients and moves on. We need the context of the Altoona hotel.
Right. The hotel that burned down. So why yellow cheese?
I just assumed it was, bad taste.
Or it was about limitations. You should frame this as a product of its time and place. A hotel kitchen in a specific era of American processed food.
So they were just working with what they had in the pantry?
Pantry staples. It's not a Michelin star chef. It's a hotel cook using government cheese and shelf-stable peppers. It's a fascinating time capsule, not just a gross pizza.
And the same logic would apply to St. Louis style and its Provel cheese, right? That sort of waxy, processed cheese product?
Correct. It doesn't melt like mozzarella. It turns into this goo. You have to connect that to the industrialization of food in the mid-20th century.
So you contrast it with the fresh buffalo mozzarella of Naples.
And St. Louis style becomes a product of the factory age. It tells a whole story about American food processing.
Okay, so we're fixing the structure and adding the historical why, but I have a bone to pick with the descriptions themselves. I know what these pizzas are, but I have no idea what they feel like to eat.
The sensory details, yes, a huge missed opportunity.
It's so repetitive, features pepperoni, topped with sausage. It's just so dry. I want to know the texture, the mechanics of eating it.
The writer needs to stop being a reporter and start being a food critic. Let's take Quad City style. The text says it uses malt syrup in the crust and is cut into strips.
Malt syrup has a really specific flavor.
It does. It's nutty. It's a little sweet. The writer needs to describe that toasty, nutty sweetness when you take a bite. And the strips, scissor-cut strips, that changes everything about how you eat it.
You don't hold a strip the same way you hold a slice?
No, you can't do the New York fold. It's this dense, chewy finger food, and the script mentions the lean, fennel-heavy sausage. Describe the texture of that meat against the chew of that malt crust.
Make me feel the density.
The one that really, really needs this treatment is the Ohio Valley style. That's the one where they bake the crust and sauce and then pile cold cheese on top.
The cold cheese pizza. The script calls it a unique sensation, which is the understatement of the century.
It sounds jarring.
It is jarring, and the script needs to lean into that. Describe the thermal shock. You've got this steaming hot, crunchy crust.
And it collides with a mountain of fridge-cold grated provolone. It's a battle in your mouth. The cheese isn't melting, it's sweating.
The cheese is sweating. See, that's so evocative. It's a little gross, but I know exactly what you mean.
You have to dramatize it. Or what about Colorado style? The crust is this giant braided thing served with honey. The honey isn't just a condiment.
It changes the whole meal.
It does, because you save the crust for last, right?
Right.
So you eat the savory, cheesy part, and then you're left with this massive braid of dough. You dip it in the honey, and suddenly you're eating dessert. It turns the pizza into a 2-course meal.
And the script just ignores that whole ritual. I love that idea. It turns eating into an event.
And speaking of events, we have to talk about Detroit style. Everyone knows the square shape, but the text mentions the frico.
The holy grail of pizza crusts. The script just says the cheese melts to the edges. That's so passive.
It doesn't just melt. It caramelizes against that blue steel. It forms a jagged, crunchy crown of cheese.
You need to describe the sound of biting into that corner piece.
The shatter of that cheese lace against the airy, almost focaccia-like inside. That contrast is the entire pizza.
Okay, I'm getting hungry now, which I think means your point is proven. But before we wrap, we have to address the elephant in the room.
Or the banana in the room.
Yeah, the angle and originality. We're treating all of these things as equals.
We are. You've got EU-protected Neapolitan pizza with rules written by lawyers.
And then you've got Swedish banana curry pizza and pizza cones. And the script presents them with the exact same neutral tone.
It creates this really weird tonal dissonance. It's like putting a Rembrandt next to a doodle on a napkin and just calling them both art.
Without any commentary, we need to lean into that controversy. The script should use the extreme examples to challenge the listener. It needs to ask the question, what actually defines a pizza?
Take the Georgian hachapuri. It's a bread boat. It's filled with melted cheese, butter, and a raw egg.
Is that a pizza? Or is it fondue in a bread bowl? The script says you tear off the crust to dip it in the center.
That is not how you eat pizza. That's a dip. The writer needs to pose that challenge. Don't just list it. Interrogate it.
And then there's the whole Swedish pizza thing. The text mentions the kiwi instant.
Which is the perfect hook.
Yeah, a photo of kiwi on pizza caused international outrage.
Use that outrage. Contrast the Swedish philosophy of, if it's edible, put it on dough, against Neapolitan purism. It highlights this huge cultural divide. Is pizza a protected artifact? Or is it just a blank canvas for chaos?
The pizza cone is the one that really breaks my brain. It was designed for portability.
Right. It's pizza as an ice cream cone. But does changing the geometry mean it's not pizza anymore? If it's not flat, is it still a pie?
The script completely misses the chance to have that debate. And then finally, the Korean bulgogi pizza with the rice crust, the nurungi.
That's the ultimate test. If you replace the wheat dough with scorched rice, is it still pizza?
Or is it just an open-faced rice ball?
It feels like the script is so afraid to offend anyone that it just nods and says, yes, this is also pizza.
It means to stop nodding and start arguing. By exploring these boundaries, the rice crust, the cone shape, the raw egg, you turn a boring list into a philosophical investigation.
You engage the reader in the debate. So to bring this all together, we're asking for a complete teardown and rebuild of the narrative architecture.
A big ask, but a necessary one.
It is. So let's recap the battle plan for our listener. First, structure. Kill the random order. Reorganize by lineage.
Italian progenitors, then immigrant evolution, then deep divergence, and the ancestral cousins. Tell the story of the family tree.
Second, context. Don't just tell us it's thick or fried. Tell us about the freezing prairie winters and the bombed-out ovens of World War II. Give us the why.
Third, sensory details. Ban the phrase topped with. Describe the crunch of the frico, the thermal shock of the Ohio Valley cheese, and the sticky sweetness of that Colorado honey dip.
Make us feel it.
And finally, the debate. Use the weird styles, the cones, the bananas, the rice crusts, to challenge the very definition of pizza. Don't shy away from the controversy. Make it the main event.
This script has all the research. It has the facts. It needs a soul. It needs to stop being an encyclopedia and start being a story.
I want to read the version of this script where I can actually smell the coal smoke and feel that winter wind.
Me too. So, listener, take this feedback, tear down the current structure, and rebuild this narrative brick by brick. We really want to see the new draft.
Make us hungry.
Submit it again when you're done. We'll be waiting.
Goodbye.
See you next time.